let's move on straight away. I think Daphne. Daphne, I'm going to bring Daphne to the stage. So Daphne's about brand clever, but she's got more than that to her bow. She's got so many strings. But tonight, Daphne's going to talk to us all about the importance of branding and branding clever, and why you should have a brand that reflects who you are. But more importantly, is your brand talking to your clients? Is it talking to the people that you want to attract for your business, for your services, to buy your book? So I'm not going to say much else. I'm sure Daphne, she'll have plenty to say, and we'll take some Q&A at the end as well. So Daphne, welcome to Voice and Pen, and the stage is yours.
Well, thank you very much. Lovely to see everybody. Hi, everybody. I've been clicking the little pictures, looking at you all. It's weird, isn't it? Because it'd be so nice just to meet in person instead of looking at you in the picture. Okay, well, very well said, Brenda. I really love what you said there, especially about, the importance of team. I actually think that when you are actually going to not only create something, but take that something of value out to the world, it doesn't happen without a dream team. It just doesn't. And I see so many entrepreneurs and authors and people trying to struggle on themselves, by themselves, and it does become a struggle. And what I also see is that most people are more brilliant and more clever and more fantastic than they'll realize. So it's really important to have a good team around you. Okay, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I've been in design and branding for well over 30 years. I do several things. I'm a designer, a brand expert, film producer, and I also have Raw Media Creative, which is a company I have with Stephen Gillen. So we're all into PR, media. So we make a lot of digital assets, and these are like really important, which I'll get to in a little while. Okay, but let's start off and let's imagine, I'm not sure of everybody's status of who's writing, who's not, who's got a book, but I'll give you kind of a general kind of hit on value and impart value this evening that you can use tomorrow morning. The thing is, when I start off a project with anybody, everybody always has some kind of big idea. They have some big idea, whether it's a book, what that book should do, or what that business should do. But when I ask them, well, how much money are they going to make, and how are they going to create a platform for value exchange, that's where they usually go cross-eyed, or they say, what do you mean? And here, this is a real passion of mine. And I'm actually one of the least materialistic people that you'll ever meet. I love nature and relationships and people and my family and my friends, and chocolate and jasmine tea. However, I do not like to see people in pain. So I put together a concept called Brand Clever, because I got so tired of seeing people in pain, where they would start a project off and they'd spend a lot of money with one person and then more money with another, more money with another. But they didn't actually have something whole. They didn't have something that became successful. So this caused a lot of pain. So I decided to put this methodology together, Brand Clever. So what I've designed in Brand Clever, it's all about business strength first, and then brand clarity, and then marketing success, because I call this getting your ducks in a row. Because if you don't have this all organized at the right time, in the right way, ready to hit fire, you will not be, your success won't be so potent. And a lot of people get very unfocused, distracted. They don't have a whole plan. And then, of course, if their precious book or labor of love, it's always a soul labor of love, these books, when it isn't doing what you think it should, it's very, very painful because you put your heart and soul in it. So that is why I start off with the bottom line, with the money. When I say, well, you know, how much money are you going to make, and how is the money model going to work? And I do this pretty much with most things that I do, because it saves years and it saves a lot of money. And then the money that you do spend, you know that you're going to be spending that money to get the maximum effect. Yeah. As I also see with Brenda, you know, she's the way that she's has an offering in her business. You can see that you can see exactly what you're spending and why. And this is like really, really important. So another thing that I have to say, which I think is terribly old-fashioned, and I know that they don't work, and that's something called a business plan. So what is the difference between a business plan and a business model? A business model for me is actually predicting how much value you can give. And then when you give value, then you look at how you're going to get the value exchange. Because this is another thing that's really, really important. While people are having writer's block, don't worry about it. While you can't think about what to write, start building a list of people, because actually it's your lists that are so important to be building. So I think actually when you are creating kind of a brand cycle, brand marketing PR cycle, it's a good idea to think about it like a layer cake. And you want to kind of work out how many layers you're going to have on this delicious cake. And I think it's also like really good to have some kind of analogy or even a picture where it gives you inspiration, where you say, well, look, I'm going to need every layer of that cake for it to be absolutely delicious, and keep it very fun. And a lot of people, when they're doing their projects, they get too hung up on nonsense, and then it starts eating them up and they get stressed out about something. As the way that I do it with my clients, you know, if something isn't working or flowing, I just say, we'll park that, we'll push on with what we can do. But the thing is, it's so important. So just say you have, so we're just going to work on three things this evening, which is going to be your business strength, your brand clarity, and then marketing. Now, when you're going to organize all this, it's just say you have a book and you're going to sell your book for £15. It's not enough to write the book, have the book, know that you want to sell the book. It's about, well, how are you going to actually get a list of people to sell your book to? Or what kind of publicity stunt can you do to attract people to know about this book? And it's a good idea to have all this done in your business model first, because then you can plan it. And the thing is, another thing too, which is very interesting, a lot of people don't like to talk to people and say, can I have your name for the list? Because nowadays you have to ask people's permission. They have to sign the GDPR little tick to say that you can email them. But there's nothing like these personal relationships. So it's a really good idea when you're meeting anybody, if you're in the queue in the farm shop or at Tesco's or wherever you hang out, and you get talking to anybody, just tell them about what you're doing and say, do you mind if I take your email? Would you mind if I, wrote to you and tell you about all the great things that we're going to be doing? And start building up your list. Because if 10 or 15 people isn't enough, you want to be building lists that are like 1,000 upwards. Now, if that sounds a lot, but if you've got that, when you have got that list built as you're doing other things, and it's a great thing to do list building, because when you're in between the flow of writing your book and all the things you've got to do, and sometimes you don't have chunks of time to really flow, in those little times of 40 minutes here, half an hour there, you can build this list. And in six months' time, you'll have like this amazing list that you can then start to communicate with an audience. Then you can do Zoom calls or events. And then not only that, when there is press releases further down the road, you can write to all your people, sending them out the big news. So see how important that is. Now, you might be saying, what is this woman saying? Because she hasn't even talked about branding yet. And that's the thing, because it's all congruent. It's like this lovely layer cake. So the first step is your business, your business strength. So when you've kind of got your business model, you know why you're writing your book, who your audience is, you start writing the list down who it is, you know how much things are going to cost. So then you've got more of a clarity, because if you have that clarity first before you start, then you get the right kind of book, because you're going to say, okay, how are we going to brand this book? Well, what kind of book is it? Is it a serious book? Is it written for really serious people, or has it got some kind of flavor of optimism? Is it a self-help book? Is it a comedy book? Because all these things are so important for your branding, but they're so important that you're writing a book for the people on your list. Because if you don't have the right list and it doesn't match the book, it's a bit of a miss. And this comes then right to the heart of branding, because for me, branding is giving service to, giving someone something and understanding what that something is. And I've worked with like many clients all over the world, and about 95% of them, I have to kind of coach them and say, well, actually, this isn't about you, it's about your clients. Like a perfect thing that people say, it's what they mostly do say. They say, I know the colors I love. I love purple, or I love green, and I can see that the book should be this, or my business card should be like that. And then I have to say very, very nicely and sweetly, actually, it's not about you, it's about what your clients like. You might love purple, but it's not going to respond to the market or them. So it's really, really good in this kind of branding book, business sales process, that the first thing you do after, while you're building your list, but actually to have your client avatar and actually form this avatar of who you're writing for, because it's going to save you so much time and so much hassle, and at the same time it elevates your success. So say you're going to write a book on a yoga book, okay, so who may be this book be for? Well, it'll probably be for mainly women between 25 and 37. What are these? Perhaps more of these women might be not have children yet, but are career minded. Okay, and you start building up this avatar. Now, when you start writing for the avatar, then the writing becomes more delicious, but then the marketing is easy, because then you start only talking to these people who you're going to sell the book to, and then those people need to be on the list, right? So then it gets more and more interesting. So then when you've actually got further down the road and it comes to your book design, then that's so much easier, because you've got a real clarity, a real form in your mind of who you're writing for. And the thing is, it's like who you're writing for is so, so important, because there are all those hundreds and thousands of people all over the world that will be holding your books, and one line in that book can change their life. And that's a big responsibility. When that phrase, or they underline that certain something, that you're changing that person's life. This is why it's so important to get it right. So, and also too, people love to be desired. They love to be seen. They love to be heard. They love to be understood. And to me, this is what branding is too. So it's about making products that people look at it and go, oh, I love that. So you're actually making products for that person. So I can't kind of go on enough about that. But then let's go on to kind of book design. And then you think of, you go to a shop and you see lots and lots of books all over the place and all sorts of designs. And very few book designs I actually think are that good. And I do think that there is a new opportunity to have kind of new and fresh book design. And I think sometimes what can happen, people can copy and paste, and they think that they can do it themselves, or they can knock something up on Canva, or they can just do a color and do a blob and a font. But that's something I wouldn't advise, because with book design, there's a whole thing of color language, color theory, and even fonts, the lettering, have personalities. And that's another thing to, to make sure that your fonts are matching the character of the book. Like if the book is strong, then you'll need strong fonts, but you won't need fonts that the tone is too loud and shouting. And also, not only that, this book cover has to make sense to your audience. Like the last, well, I've done a lot of them, but the last one I've done now, which is a bestseller, which is Stephen's book, The Monkey Puzzle Tree. Yes, when you look at that book cover, the review, well, what people say about it is we get a lot of compliments about it. But the thing is, the book cover tells a whole story about Stephen. So when you actually go in and read the book, just the whole thing comes together. Now that book, the reason I designed it like that too is because we're making a film. So it's going to be a major Hollywood film as well, that story. So that book cover has to have that kind of world-class punch. So you could imagine that you could see that on film posters and things like that. Now, I'm a person who is a big visionary, and I'm always looking at people to find their strengths, not their weaknesses. I find their strength, I find their beauty, I find the great things that they do, and I help them put that together in this whole process. And then it shows up in the design, it shows up in the business model, it shows up in the branding. Because why even waste our time unless it's going to be brilliant, unless it's going to be successful? And this is why I love working with Brenda, because she's so tenacious and she loves brilliance and she loves nice things and she loves to do a great job and she has to have it right. And then what's great about Brenda too, if she doesn't know something or hasn't got it right, she'll be the first one to throw her hands up and say, oh, I'll do that again, or what can we do better? And that is a wonderful person to work with. So the thing is, with this whole kind of team here this evening, I just really would encourage you to look at your big idea and 10x it. Raise your standards. Think bigger. Really think bigger. Do not play small. None of us have got time to play small. And remember that there's somebody out there waiting to read that line in your book that's going to change their life, whatever subject it is. Okay. So then coming to marketing success, when Stephen takes something out to market, he goes through any door. He bashes down doors, he breaks, he just connects people and does things so beautiful, and doesn't break the door physically, but he gets to people all around the world that you just couldn't imagine, and he does get the media and does get the PR. But this works because we've got very symbiotic relationship. It's because I get everything ready and then give it to him, and I go, there you go, ducks in a row, here's all the graphics, there's this, there's that, there's photos, there you go, off you go. Then he can blast it out of the water. But a lot of people go to PR, news, advertising too early when they're not showing up right. The book design isn't strong. They don't have a website. They don't have any testimonials. They don't have a list. Yeah. So in a way, you see, this is, so then Stephen's standing there saying, okay, I'll tell the world about you, but where am I going to send them? You have to have your website set up. And also too, I would say that it's much better to have one simple website with lots of conversion opportunities on it. That's, I mean, graphics that convert into sales, hot buttons that will make people want to press, invitations, events, freebies, stimulating, gorgeous, something where people go, wow, that where it draws you in, and you're not even realize that you've already spent 15 minutes on the website. And you really do need one of those with your book. Another thing that you need is you need to have in your mind some kind of publicity stunt for your tribe. And all of you should be having a tribe, and your tribe is your email list and what you have to grow. So the thing is, so when, because the marketing to the PR works like this, it works hand in hand and then it merges. So the thing is, Stephen gets the goodies to go out to the world. Like now, Stephen can go out to the world and shout loud about Brenda and all the other wonderful things she does, because he can send them back to Brenda. So she's got a fabulous website. She's got a fabulous team. She's got, and I designed on her website verbal testimonials, so people can click and they can hear in people's voice, Brenda helped me so much. She was amazing. You can't lie with those things. There's in some websites, you see these like little, you know, they're made up, most of them, but you can't make up those things. So you really want to always be real and really authentic and really true, because as humans, we're not stupid. We can pick things up. So when we go back to the website, there's something exciting there. We go out to the world, we're doing a publicity stunt, we got PR, then it all feeds into each other. And the idea of this kind of rocking is that you're creating more people, a bigger list. So then ideally, once you've written your book and you have your book, you should be able to do upselling. So perhaps you do courses, perhaps you do training, perhaps you do services, perhaps you sell something. Like if you've written a book about knitting, perhaps you're selling wool. So then you see you've got a whole beautiful kind of system that works. And then it's something that there's not, I don't think there's a better feeling as designing, building something that actually works. And then, you know, you can see, you know, you help somebody, you know, you got your return on investment, you know, you're being invited to talk, you know, your self-esteem gets even bigger and better. Then you start to collaborate with others. And then, of course, we mustn't forget, it's a good idea, and it actually has to be, it's very good. I think everyone should have an audio book, because nowadays, so many people do not have time to read some kinds of books. You know, I've got audio books. So every time I'm not typing or working, if I'm cleaning or cooking or driving, I'm always listening to audio book. But there again, that audio book should already be in your business model, planning for how much that costs. And the thing is, it doesn't matter if you haven't got the money to do that today, but it matters that you know that that cost is coming up, because then you can see that that's coming further down the line. But so then that should actually give you the inspiration to say, okay, let's get this right, and let's really plan this out well first. And I think also too, it's okay just to do a plan and not worry about writing the book or anything else first, you know, and plan what it's going to be. Have some coaching sessions with Brenda. You know, really get in all the insights of what it has to be, what it should be, how much time is it going to take, and then really go for it, because you will have your success if you do it that way. Anyway, I think I've talked enough. So I'll take a breath now.
Thanks a lot, Daphne. And, you know, that's just the tip of the iceberg. And the pearls of wisdom, I know, in all the sessions that we've had in the design process, what you've imparted has been totally invaluable. And you're not just one person, you see that whole picture, like I talked about holistically. So we're going to open up to some questions that Daphne can answer. She's just really touched on a few things and not went into one deeply. Does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask Daphne, either around building your anything? Actually, she can answer anything. Branding, do you have a brand? What would you, if you've got a question you want to ask that's burning about branding or marketing? We're going to be talking, I've got an author here who's going to talk about a wee bit about PR and how it's been impacting on his journey so far. But yeah, so I'd like to open up to any questions. Oh, just unmute yourself, Elliot, please.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Okay, so there's some really good points made by Daphne there, and but what I thought would be really quite interesting for authors or people who need that kind of advice, because you've covered so much and every element of it really valid. So let's just say someone wants to start on their marketing journey. What in order would be the top 5 things to do? Where do you start? What would be second? What would be third? Because often they don't get to, they like, people often start on one whilst they are start planning the others as well. They get the ball rolling. So what would be the singular most important thing for an author after they've written a book, and go down in the order of all the things you've been speaking about?
Okay, and you want 5? Hang on, let me write 1, 2, 3.
It doesn't need to be 5. It could be 3.
Even
You know, I had 5 fingers, so I felt I should run with it.
Well, I've written 5 now, so I'll come up with 5 because I'm like this oracle. I really like questions because I just answer them and it just comes out. That first of all, the most important thing is to identify who your customer avatar is. That's the number one thing. Who are you writing the book for? And then I think, and here you've already got, you can make so much more money, which will give you more choices. You can help more people do more lovely stuff, or just, I don't know, sitting at whatever money means to you, by having an avatar when the title of the book can go into more than one category. And this is where, if there's a little bit of thought in the beginning, you can then do health and wellness. You could do then perhaps educational, or perhaps it's even into, I don't know, a certain genre. And Brenda can advise you more on those. So have this avatar really crystal clear in your mind. Okay. So for example, who have I got? At the minute, I'm helping a lot. Oh, okay. There's one guy, because I've got several, well, I've got a lot of clients, but they're all doing different things. They're not all books. So there's one guy where he's very intelligent, but what he needs to do, if he was writing a book, he would need to be writing a book for CEOs and leaders. Yeah, he wouldn't be writing a book for anyone else, and he would just be talking to the boardroom. So that would be a business book. But what else could that book? That could also be a self-help book. So the first thing that he should be doing is actually creating the avatar. What kind of CEO? What kind of boardroom? You know, what kind of scale of finance? You know, are these billion-dollar boardroom people, or are they $1 million, or are they just a charity? It doesn't matter. It matters that there's absolute clarity. So number one, your avatar. And don't be afraid of avatars. And if you're stuck and you don't know what an avatar is, just start on yourself. So European woman, English, loads of kids, got a business, likes to eat clean and loves flowers. Okay, that's my avatar. So if I'm writing for myself, so you could just start on really detailing and start to do some research on what an avatar is. That's the first thing. The second thing, then the next question, and this is also, and you might say this is so far from what I think marketing should be, but this is exactly the heart of marketing. Is why are you writing this book? What the heck are you doing this for? That is so important, because that also goes to marketing, because it's like, well, why? Because you want to, perhaps you're an educator, perhaps you're want to teach people about food, perhaps you want to teach people about money, perhaps you're the world's greatest poet or the world's greatest up and coming storyteller, but you have to have your why. If you don't have your why, you'll start, things will wobble or they'll just slide a little bit. But when you have your why, so I'm writing a book now. Why do I want to write a book? It's because I want to be seen as a thought leader, right? And that's true. And I'm telling you something about me now. I want to be seen as a thought leader because I have thoughts, and I have not only things that I've tried and tested and kind of done successfully, 30 years old, 30 years of more. I know that my new thoughts or my innovation actually moves the dial. and they're not necessarily the same as what other people say. They're very unique. So that's why thought leader. So next thing. So that's what I know. I know my avatar. I know why I'm writing my book, and I know what kind of book it's going to be. Next thing is build the list. Because if you don't have a list, you can't. Who are you going to email? Who are you going to call? Now, the thing is, what you can do about list building, you can find groups of people who are very similar to your avatar, and then you could invite yourself and offer to do a talk on your expertise. So then you can channel, you can bust into their list. Okay, then you can make them a special offer, and then hopefully they'll listen to you, and hopefully they'll come over. So then there's a list. Now the next thing is graphics. Now this is the thing where I don't give many people many marks out of 10 for their graphics. Most graphics are absolutely awful. But being a designer, that's one of my strong points. But the reason why I get so excited about a really beautiful graphic is graphics convert into sales. This is a communication tool. And in 3 seconds, people need to know what you need, what you're about. So and not just one graphic, you need to have maybe 10 different kinds of graphics, maybe little graphics that you can put in between photos on your Instagram, graphics that you can put on Facebook, graphics that you can, even a footer under your email that's describing what you're doing or what your book is, or a tagline. So you want those graphics. And then the next thing is your dream team. And it's so important that you actually research anybody that's helping you market. And you make sure that they're best ones. Now, some people, you might just want to be marketing on social media. But marketing, I find, of all the years of the marketing I've done, the strongest is people that you know. And this is why it's so important to start being everybody's best friend. And anytime you get to speak to somebody, ask them a question about themselves. Be interested, set up a relationship, because when you have those one-to-one relationships, they start to grow. And then when you can create a raving fan, but that must be authentic, no phony stuff. That's why it's so good to know your why. And then people become drawn to you and they become a fan. And then you don't need to talk anymore. Then they talk for you. So if you've got 100 raving fans, you'll get 1,000 raving fans. So that is my number 5. That's my 5.
Thank you very much, Daphne. Karen, just unmute yourself.
Good evening. Thanks very much, Daphne. Really interesting. Now, I've got a slightly different question. Is that my book's more of a memoir? So, and I'm actually also an accidental author. So I haven't done any of this pre-planning. I didn't sit down to go, right, today I'm going to write this book and it's targeted such and such. I've kind of retrofitted in the rationale with the help of Olivia and Brenda and Zara. We've come up with a much clearer story arc. So it's kind of been, jammed in after the event. But it's kind of me, a memoir is, I'm struggling to think what else I would do with that in terms of, you were talking about the things that you could do, your courses or whatever it is. As a memoir, that's more challenging to do other than going around being a speaker, listening to some lunatic who went to the Antarctic once upon a time. So it's I'm interested to see for stuff that's not a business book or a help learning book, how you might be able to monetize that beyond a bio.
Oh, well, I've got something straight away for that one. The thing is that everybody is packed full of goodies. And quite often we don't realize how much fantastic stuff we have in us. We have a mountain of value. We're full of hearty memories and stories, and we're full of kindness. Many, many wonderful things. But sadly, in this world, too many people focus on the negative. So you could encourage people to write letters and write their memories in letters. And then you could actually have a service where you encourage that, where actually you help people write a lovely memory and send it to somebody that perhaps they've had a bust up, perhaps they want to say sorry, perhaps this. So the thing is, so you see, you can take other people's memories and get momentum in the memories, but actually do something positive with them. Okay, so that's like innovation now. Okay, this is another thing that I'm very strong at, and actually seeing something very unique and pulling something out. And that's a beautiful thing to do, because how does it feel? And this is also really important, that we really go down to our feeling. How does it feel when somebody does something for us from the heart? If you got a letter from somebody that took the time to say, darling Daphne, I remembered that evening when you helped me remember this, and I did this, and you gave me that, and it changed my life. Thank you so much. And I want you to remember my memory, right? How would that feel? I would probably cry. I'd go, oh God, I'd probably frame it. And there's another business, you can even frame memoirs. So you see, there's lots of wonderful things that you can do.